All right, cool. Yeah, we can just get right into it. It's been a minute since we did a pod, P. Every pod obviously is super special, but today we got Big Woody in the building. So, I mean, you can articulate it yourself. Go ahead and introduce yourself. Where you're from, what you currently do, where you stay now.
Yeah. First off, I do want to tell you guys I'm really glad to be here. My name's Woody Wethington. Flew all the way from Indianapolis, Indiana to be here. I'm in the healthcare business, believe in helping people, sobriety, getting a better life, a new way of life, just helping others.
Got you. So we're going to definitely get into all that, but I want to start kind of at the beginning. Where are you originally from? Where were you born? Where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Inglewood. Yeah, Inglewood right here.
So what time period was that in Englewood?
I was born in 77, so where I really remember a lot was late 80s, early 90s.
So what was it like in the late 80s, early 90s in Hawthorne, Inglewood, that area?
Peak.
Yeah.
Gang violence was at an all-time high, late 80s, early 90s. I saw riots, I saw a lot of things, and the streets were brutal, and I was exposed to that at a young age.
Wait, you mentioned the riots. How did that, impact you and your community moving forward as far as, living there, you know what I mean, and growing up? Because that was a serious,
Yeah,
that was serious.
There was the Rodney King riots, right?
correct.
Yeah.
Yeah. First off, it just made the racial divide more. I lived in an area that was predominantly Mexican, but then black and some other ethnicities. But that was one of the biggest ways that it really hit home.
Yeah.
There was a lot going on. It's hard to come back from that. Gang violence was everywhere. Witness drive-bys, witness murders. Saw my brother get shot. A lot.
Yes, and we had done a podcast with that guy named Brian who, when we were telling his story, he kind of had a crazy story too. So obviously you have your childhood when you're growing up. You're not thinking about gang violence. You're just a kid, right? At what point did you get to a certain age? What age was it when you're like, oh shit, this is my environment. This is the world I'm in. And I kind of want to be a part of that because that's what you gravitated towards.
Yeah. About 14 or 15. My mother and father separated when I was real young. So it was a stepdad in the picture, for a point in time. And then, when I was 14 or 15, he was out the picture. And I remember the day he left. My mother asked me if I wanted to say bye. I said no. But I went to the window and I watched him pull away in a taxi cab. It was going to LAX. And my next thought, unfortunately, stuck with me for a long time. And that thought was, nobody's telling me what to do ever again.
No. This is when you were 14.
Correct.
So what kind of kid were you after 14?
After 14, I was in the streets, hanging out with, first there was a lot of taggers,
Yeah, that's usually how it starts.
Yeah. And back then, the gangbangers, they didn't like that. They wanted you to be from their hood, they didn't want you out there spray painting and tagging something else up. So there was a lot of problems with that too, but I was a kid that got in trouble young. Like I said, exposed to the streets young, and started running around.
Did you, you mentioned that your dad left. Did you have any other role models?
Yeah, he was a gang member. It's funny you brought that up. He's actually still in my life today. He's serving a life sentence here in the state of California without parole, and he's been incarcerated since October of '93.
Wow.
I'm still in touch with him.
Yeah.
Not enough. I could probably reach out a little more to him, but that was my role model at that time. And I'll never forget something he told me. He said, Woody, I don't care what you are. I don't care if you're trashing it, if you work at Jack in the Box, if you're a gangbanger, whatever you do, you're 100%. And that was my role model. That's what he did.
And he was a Crip, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was a Crip.
But he was the man. He was the shot caller at that time.
Like we talked about earlier, gang violence was so high back then. He was, he was definitely one of the biggest dudes on the street, the most well-known dude, and he was not to be messed with.
You say you still keep in touch with him from time to time. So what are those conversations like when you do have them now?
I'm really glad you asked that, Pete, because he does what I do.
Oh, okay.
He's had a journey, been down since '93, so
Yeah.
he had a lot of problems, but he's found sobriety. He facilitates self-help support groups, becoming a recovery coach. They allowed him to do that in there. So our
That's
conversations consist of the solution.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and yeah, I'm really glad for that, because if not, I would still be able to keep that relationship.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he's been down since when?
October of '93.
And when's he getting out?
Never.
He got life.
Parole.
Correct. Life without parole.
Damn.
I had him do, at the hospital, I had him talk to some patients in a group up there one time, and that was really powerful. Like on speakerphone, he called me, you know. It was
Yeah.
powerful.
That's a full circle moment.
Yeah.
For sure. So obviously, if a gangbanger is your lead role model, I'm assuming some trouble came with that. When did you, I mean, if you're open to speaking about it, when did you first start getting in trouble, like with the law?
At 14 and 15 years old.
So like juvenile.
Yeah, at 15 years old, I had already been to Central Juvenile Hall downtown LA.
And were you kind of in and out of juvie, or was it like you got caught up once and then you were more smart about it? What was that like?
I'm no different than a lot of people. I was in and out. You know, recidivism, it's real.
Yeah.
So even as a juvenile, I had several trips to Central Juvenile Hall and once to Silmar Juvenile Hall.
When you were in juvie, do they have like programs installed for you guys so that way, you know, they can get you right before they let you back out into society or whatever case? Or does that, when you go in there, do you feel like you come out worse as a minor? Because I feel like that's where it kind of starts, you know what I'm saying? Once you start going to juvie, that'll kind of shape how your future is going to go, I feel like. So if they don't have the right programs in juvenile hall, it's not going to help them later on. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. So yes, they do have programming, classes, schools, structure, but the problem is, you know, are you going to do it? For
Yeah.
example, I remember many days going to school, and we'd get in the classroom, and then there'd be a fist fight, so everybody's got to go back to the dorm, you know, back to lockdown. School's canceled for today.
Yeah.
So it's just hard to get that accomplished in there.
Yeah.
But they did have programs in there, yeah. I actually got my GED and later incarcerated in a different
Yeah.
facility, yeah.
So you just mentioned you got your GED. That wouldn't mean that you didn't get your high school diploma.
I did not. I dropped out of high school.
When did you drop out?
About 16.
16. So from 16 to 18, you were still in the streets. When you turned 18, did you get in trouble to where it's like, okay, now I'm getting charged as an adult? Or when did you end up going to like actual long-term jail or prison time? Like what age were you?
20.
20.
20, 'cause I remember, yeah, I turned 21 in prison too that next year.
Were you here?
No, I was in the state of Indiana.
Okay. When did you move from California to Indiana full-time, and how did that even come about?
Jasmine was born 94, you were born 96. My mother, grandmother, I was having a lot of trouble. I was young, had kids young, obviously, you know, was caught into the wrong things. So we thought it might be a good idea for not only me out there, but to take my kids out there. So from 94 to 96, I was kind of back and forth. You know, Jasmine was born here in 94, back and forth a little bit, and lived here again. 96 here in Inglewood. So I'd say full time, probably 97, 98.
Is when you were in Indiana full-time. And did the trouble stop when you got to Indiana?
It did not. It did not.
Why Indiana?
My father.
Oh, okay,
My father.
okay.
My stepfather was in the picture when I was younger. But like I said, he was gone at about 14, 15.
Yeah.
So my real father was in Indiana and willing to help us out. And that's kind of what got us out there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
But like I just mentioned,
No, it didn't stop.
it didn't stop.
No. He was willing to help me. I had some other people willing to help me, but there's that old saying, wherever you go, there you are.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I was too young to even accept the responsibility to think I needed to change in so many different ways, you know. So, no, it followed me there. By 98, I caught my first big felony case out there, which was a dealing in a controlled substance, a Class B felony in the state of Indiana, which is the second highest felony you can get there. And the first sentence I received there was 10 years, 6 suspended, 4 years executed, which would be 2 years. Yeah.
Got you. So in Indiana, was there a lot of periods where you were in and out of the county jail? And then was there periods where you had an actual stint in prison?
Both. And, I'm here to be real and raw. There was a time I had been in the county jail so much, they said, well, Woody, a couple times coming in there. And the jail I was at, I could literally walk you around that jail and tell you every block from the outside of what that is. So I had that stretch of in and out, and then 2 prison sentences that I sat down for. One was 18 months, and then another one was 15 months.
Got you. Something that I remember that, maybe not a lot of kids go through is I remember spending like a lot of, obviously mom was gone too, but I remember spending school nights like at jail visits. I remember coming to the county jail to visit you and stuff, and I just remember being a little bit, a lot of my friends at the time weren't in that situation, you know what I mean? So I remember that for me. When did you get your biggest stint, and where did you do your prison time at?
I was 2000. So I was gone pretty much all of 2000 and into 2001, and that was at a place called Westville Correctional Facility right by Gary, Indiana.
So that was a little over a year you spent in there? And then I know you got to a point where, all that trouble shit was pretty much behind you. Like, you really did turn a corner on that. When was your last time in there, and did you really know to yourself, like, fuck this, like, I'm done coming back into this shit? Like, when was that?
It was a couple months before my release, and it was actually my dad. He didn't come see me that time, but I spoke to him on the phone, and I still remember what he said. Basically, he told me to look around, and he said, "What do you want to tell you? That place will never change. They will always have room for you. And they might throw a coat of paint on the wall every 25 years. You got to stay out of those places." And I realized then at some point, at that point, I just knew whatever I do with my life, it can't be in here. It cannot be in here. So at that moment, and that was the last time I walked out of a correctional facility was April of 2004.
2004. And then, I know we're jumping around a little bit, but I remember when you were done kind of with getting in trouble, what was your contribution to society? What did you start doing for a living?
I've been lucky. I've done a few things. I've bartended. I've worked in the restaurant business. I've done some electric work. I've done some under construction, some painting. So I did whatever I could to pay the bills. These days, if you're a convicted felon, it's really not that hard to get a job. I'm not going to say there's no barriers if you're a convicted felon.
Right.
I'm not going to say none, but you would be surprised. A lot of those have been removed. But 20 years ago, when I was coming out of prison and a convicted felon, it was a big deal. It was a really big deal. So I was also limited. But again, still fortunate to do a few things. Yeah.
So is there anything you took from those experiences in jail and prison that you apply today when you help other people? It's kind of a tough question.
Yeah, but it's a good one. First off, I want to say not everybody in jail is bad. There's some people that belong there. There's some people that might have just made a mistake. But what I learned in there was some more of my empathy and compassion. To help someone else, I've got to be willing to meet them where they are.
Right.
You know what I mean by that, right? I've got to be willing to meet them where they are. So even though I knew I didn't want to come back, and when I left there, I just knew I wasn't going back. That doesn't mean you weren't going back or you weren't going back. So, it taught me to have more empathy and compassion.
For sure. And something that I think is really admirable, not just for me, but like anybody that meets you, P as well, Jocelyn, anybody in your life that admires you and understands your story it's one thing to come out of jail in the system in prison and bounce back and become a good man, a good stand-up man, whatever the case may be. But after you got out, you got a job, you're an electrician. You were also working at a fine dining restaurant at the same time. And we were making decent money at the time, especially being in Indiana. But that's where, the most impactful thing in my life happened was your accident. When did that happen? And can you kind of talk about how that happened? Like, do you remember that day?
Well, it was June 10th of 2009, 6/10/09, and
walk us through like the morning until you don't remember.
Can't. I'm going to give you, what I have from that day, but most of what I have from that day are other people. I don't remember going to work that morning. I do know I had to do both my jobs that day. I wouldn't do 2 jobs every day. For some days, I'd get off electric and go downtown. So that was one of those days, but I really don't remember anything. We were pulling some wire underground. and my brother was on job site with us, and we were communicating through walkie-talkies, and it was about 1,000 feet. We lost communication. He thought the battery went dead. I was already hurt. So to make a long story short,
You were already hurt?
yeah, that's why we had no communication. He thought our battery went dead. So, hey, Woody. So he thought the battery went dead, but I was already hurt.
Oh, okay.
So, pull some wire underground. A couple things happened. It shouldn't have. Won't really talk about all that, get into that too much. But I was electrocuted 480 volts in my shoulder. That's the entrance was my shoulder. The exit was, I'll see is the other side of my face. So I don't remember much of that day. I know my brother, when they got there, 911, police and fire department, they did not want to come in and grab me. They thought that the equipment was still grounded or,
You still get shot.
Yeah.
Correct. So my brother ran in there and picked me up, grabbed me, and carried me out to the helicopter.
That's fucking crazy. I remember
I was waking up.
waking up later, way later, right?
Way later, probably a month and a half later.
Yeah, we'll get into that right now. So, I remember that day a little bit. Got pulled out of school. There have been stories in the past or times in the past where you had gotten hurt from maybe a car wreck or an physical altercation with somebody. So it wasn't the first time. Yeah, exactly. It wasn't the first time we got the call and it was like, oh, your pops is in the hospital. So when I heard that, honestly, selfishly, what I first thought is like, oh shit, I'm getting out of school. I get to go see my dad at the hospital. I'm getting out of school. He's gonna be fine. He's always fine. And I remember getting to the hospital and Jocelyn, your woman, was frantic, in tears. I'd never seen her like that. So I instantly realized, like, okay, this isn't a normal hospital visit. Like, some real shit's going on. I'm young. I'm 14. And I remember going into the hospital room and, I hope you don't mind me sharing this, but the whole left side of your face was charcoal black. Like, your ear was charcoal black and the left side of your face was charcoal black and you were just laying there. And, being 14 years old and someone who their father is their role model, their hero, that fucked me up a little bit. You know what I mean? I remember that day, and I just remember being like, oh, this is, like, is he going to be all right? You were obviously taken to, I forget what the hospital was called with the burn unit.
Wishard burn unit.
Wishard, yeah. And you were induced into a coma that lasted how long?
30, 40 days.
30, 40 days. And something I remember also is your mom flying from California to Indiana to be there. Lots of nights in the hospital. A month and a half is a real long time in a coma. What did the doctors say throughout the time in your coma? What was the likelihood of, one, you being alive after all this shit, and being you, not being a vegetable? As far as like your brain activity after your accident. What were the doctors saying while you were in a coma?
In the beginning, the issue was restoring blood flow to my face. So they had me do a 20-hour surgery, removing the latissimus dorsi muscle out of my back and put it at my face. The way he described it to my family was, if he survives this surgery, so there wasn't a high chance, but they were both. And then after the surgery, it was, at that point, we knew he was going to be okay. Now, they weren't sure which area of my brain was affected. They thought it was the area of my brain that would have affected my speech and my communication. So they were able to tell her that, like, hey, maybe when he wakes up, he might have some trouble talking or communicating, also with hearing. They didn't know how that was going to go. But I wasn't affected in none of that in any way, shape, or form.
So when you did finally wake up, did you remember everything? Did it take some time to get your, cognitive abilities back, or what was that like?
Yeah, it took a while. Coming out of the coma, I didn't know anything. I did not know anything. I thought I was shot. That's what I thought happened to me. I was told this, I don't remember, but I kept asking my brother, where's Roger? I didn't remember where I lived, what I drove. I remember having to ask her, what do I drive? What does your bedroom look like?
Mm-hmm.
And after a while in the hospital, I sent me to a rehab hospital, and eventually the doctors explained it to me like a computer rebooting. All of a sudden, one day, I'm having to learn how to walk, talk, breathe, swallow, and everything in the process, doing physical therapy. But one day, I told Jocelyn, my birthday is October 14th, 1977. She goes, tell me something else. Tell me something else. You just kind of get on. I got my memory back. But initially, no, I didn't remember anything, anyone. I didn't know anything. I just thought I was shot.
So other than your cognitive shit, something that I've wondered also that I've actually never asked you is, what about your physical shit? Like, were your legs weak? Because obviously you've been in bed for a month and a half. Was it hard for you to get up out of bed? Did you have to take like courses on how to walk again? What was that like?
Yeah, total week. I couldn't walk at all. I had to learn to do everything again: walk, talk, breathe, swallow, the whole ball and wax.
So you pretty much had to get your physical back up to speed too.
Yeah, recovery was tough because over time I had to have some major surgeries, and that would knock me back down again. So the recovery was long, about 3 years in total, and it did really tough in a lot of ways.
How has that like impacted you moving forward? How has that shifted your perception on things and the way you approach life now and whatever the case, because that's like a traumatic experience, you know what I mean? Especially having to relearn everything and then all of a sudden out of nowhere, everything just coming right back to you.
Gratitude, not in the beginning.
Yeah.
It took me several years to be able to find any gratitude in anything. But the way I know it's shaped and formed my life today is you have more gratitude. I don't live a waggy life anymore. I don't. I got to a point in my own recovery where her name was Marty. It was a woman at the burn unit. She said, "Woody, let me tell you something. A fine line between victim and survivor." And I never forgot that. And I knew the moment she told me that I'm not going to be a victim.
Yeah.
But going through all that, today, the fact that I can say I'm grateful is one of the best things for me.
Oh, yeah.
Everything I've been through, I'm sure but finding gratitude. Yeah.
So, this is another question I never asked you, and sorry to make you feel vulnerable here, but when you woke up, you started getting everything back, you're like, when the fuck am I going home? They're finally like, okay, you have a go home date or whatever. That was also just the beginning of your long journey of surgeries as well. So, let me just talk about that first. How many surgeries did you have until you were done having surgeries?
35 or 36 in 3 years.
And these are major surgeries. These aren't like small shit.
No, major surgeries, rebuilding my eyelid, skin expanders in my head, taking my ribs out of my chest, rebuilding my skull.
Damn.
Major surgeries. So 36, facial, cranial, reconstructive surgeries in 3 years.
And something I remember from one of the surgeries was they actually took what's called a skin graft, right? What was it? What did they do there?
They took, it's where you need skin. So they take the skin off my legs, whole area of my left leg, and that's what's here. So they can use pig skin, but they try to use your own skin first if the body will accept it.
One of the surgeries that I remember has a huge impact on my memory is I came home one time. Maybe you were in the hospital still when I saw you, but I forget what they were called, but they were like, it was like ballooned up.
Skin expanders.
You had like 2 or 3 in your head.
3.
And man, just to paint the picture for people that are going to watch this, and for P, I know Jocelyn, you know about it, but I just imagine walking in the crib and you see your pops and he's got like, it looks like bulges about this big.
Skin expanders? What is that? What is the purpose of that?
Okay, for example, a lot of times they use it for women and breast reconstruction, but here you see the injury.
Yeah.
Right? So it was this big before. So what they do, they would implant it under here, and one here in your neck, and then one back here. And once a week you come in and they inject it with saline. And what that does is swells that area up like a balloon.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then when they take that down, you stretch that skin down. So it's actual skin expansion.
Yeah.
Plastic surgery, actual skin expansion. It's amazing what they can do. But that was a tough process. I had one bust out of the back of my head.
Yeah.
I had to run in for another, emergency surgery. So skin expansion, it takes several months, first the surgery and several months of injecting and watching, they watch you pretty close, but it's not pretty. It's not pretty. So imagine a big bump here.
Because right when you mentioned it, I already pictured how it could look. Yeah.
So another personal question here, and you can get into detail as much as you want, but this is something that me and Pete for sure can relate to. Obviously, men like us, it's not like appearance is everything, but we care about our appearance. We like to look clean cut, whether it's a fade, anything like that. And you're like that too. I got that from you. So what was your mental health like dealing with that shit? Like, okay, this is me now. And there's nothing wrong with that, right? But for someone like us, it's a change from what it was on a day-to-day basis. What was it like dealing with that mentally? Like, fuck, this is what I gotta live like for the rest of my life. Was it a battle?
Yeah. For a while, it was crippling. I remember when I got to the rehab hospital, I said, when can I go home? I don't know, they might have said 60 or 90 days, and I remember telling them, I can't be here that long. I want to go home. Can I do extra? They said, yeah, if you feel like it, we'll do extra. So I get out of there in half the time, and the day's coming to go home. And that's when it really hit me. I ran back to the hospital room, and I'm like, man, I can't go out here like this.
I was going to say, that's probably like, you don't think about it until it actually comes to that point where it's like, oh, now I got to actually step into the real world and live my real life with these, like, changes. So that's for sure.
It was a big moment. But even then, going home, it was challenging for years. There was a lot of pain involved, a lot of surgeries, and then you get to a point where doctors will even tell you, hey, we got you to maximum medical improvement. It's called MMI.
Yep.
Basically, we did all we could. We can't do nothing else to take care. And that's just reality.
Yeah.
When that reality hit, there was another adjustment period. But I'm glad to say today it doesn't cripple me.
Yeah.
Today it doesn't hold me back.
I mean, you still look good, to be honest.
Yeah,
like it don't even look like crazy.
No,
you know what I'm saying?
I had a buddy of mine downtown a couple of years ago. He goes, Woody, nobody in the world could pull this off like you and still look good. I appreciate you.
No, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
It's real though. I mean, just like what it takes mentally to get through that shit and still show up every day. Like, I don't think you even pat yourself enough on the back like that. Like, that would have took a lot of fucking people out. 1,000%. Would have took most people out. And, you were still always very much there as a dad too. Like, I remember you be fresh out of surgery, asking me about my grades and shit. Like, making sure I was still good. Like, when you were in a coma, like, how's your grades? And making sure I was good conduct-wise. And you were always still very much like a dad first. And a lot of people would have not done that. You know what I mean? So I think that's something to credit yourself for when you think about it. But I also wanted to ask you something else. So, obviously, with these surgeries, you get prescribed medicine on this journey, right? So, but we can just jump right into it. You started to become addicted to these prescription medicines that were prescribed by your doctors for your surgeries. When did that happen, and what was that like?
Well, first, I want to tell you this. When I was hurt, I was 31 years old, and I'd never taken an opiate in my life. I had never taken opiates. That wasn't part of my life or anything I did. So at first, I remember being at the hospital. In the coma, everything's IV. As you're waking up, they want to switch you to oral, get that IV out, and they would come in and shove all these pills down my throat. And I would feel sick. I wouldn't want to eat. And I started telling them, I don't take a bunch of pills in the morning. I don't want these pills. At that point, they described to me that my body was already addicted because of all the opioids in the coma. So I knew I had to take them. And I did as prescribed at first, even though I didn't want to.
Yeah.
But it didn't take long. After leaving the hospital and going home, within a couple of months, I wanted an extra one day, and I grabbed an extra one. And I liked what that did for me. So it allowed me to grab another extra one. It didn't take long. It did not take long.
And again, we can share as much as you want or not, but when did it come a point where you knew to yourself, like, oh, this is a problem? Like, I gotta have one of these every day.
Probably 2014, 5 years after the injury. Because while I was going through all the surgeries, it was not an issue to get prescriptions. It wasn't.
Yeah.
And anytime I share anything about my story, I like to share this part because there is overprescribing. There's a lot of wrong things that go on out there. But in my case, that wasn't the case. I did seek the medication, and I'm glad to say that because I did have good care. I really did have good care, but I knew it was a problem. A couple of years into it, and then when you get to maximum medical improvement, they say we're done now. Well, then the doctors, let's pain meds. So that you get you off pain meds, and I sought other ways to get those. So that's when I really knew it was a problem, and I couldn't function without it, probably 2014.
In 2014, when you realized the real problem, you couldn't function without it. What'd you do to get off of?
I didn't know what to do. I didn't know anything about alcoholism, addiction. I didn't know anything about recovery. I didn't know anything. So, I flew out to Florida. That's the best idea I got. Let me hide this situation. I don't want no one to know. We flew me out to Florida, to a detoxification center. I'd never been to one.
How'd you find why Florida?
Because I didn't want nobody to know. I was embarrassed. The embarrassed.
But how'd you find that specific one?
Oh, just Googling.
Okay.
Online. Yeah, I just knew I wanted to get. And Florida's famous for detox.
Yeah.
It was a pill mill for a long time. Florida.
I didn't know that.
Oh, yeah, big time. So I just, I randomly picked a place and I went. But let me go back to what I told you guys earlier. Wherever you go, there you are. So I fly to Florida to fix this problem, quietly. And I'm there 3 days, and there's something I don't like or something that makes me mad. So I leave, and then I'm sitting at a bar calling her from Florida. She's not too happy.
Right.
So, I attempted to go get help, but I didn't follow through with it, so I did that for a couple of years.
When did you finally get all the way clean off those?
In August of 2016.
In August of 2016.
So it was like a 2-year process, essentially.
Longer, no?
Yeah, a little bit longer, because probably, even though I really knew in 14, kind of in 13, I realized it too. But
it was like a 3-year process to get fully clean, per se.
Yeah, I think I was in that contemplation stage for a long time.
Yeah. So I'm just following the timeline here. So you get clean August of 2016, you said? Just like I said, following the timeline and just keeping it all the way real. The following year, 2017, February of 2017, you lost Jasmine, your daughter, my sister, to accidental overdose on fentanyl. What was that time period like for you? Were you leaning towards going back into addiction? How did you deal with losing Jazz?
First off, I want to say this. I didn't realize it until about a year later. When that happened, I never once thought about picking up a drink or drug, nothing, not one time. Never wanted to, and I never did. Not one time. It took me a while to realize that. If you want to know the truth, the biggest moment there that I didn't know what to do was you. The doctor comes in and tells us what he has to tell us. And I'll never forget, I know you don't, Anthony looked at me and said, "What the fuck are we going to do now, Dad?" I didn't know. I had no clue.
You just mentioned a comment that I made to you about, like, what the fuck are we going to do now once we lost Jasmine? So you mentioned you weren't, you didn't feel like you needed to go do any drugs or anything like that. So how did you cope with that? Like, what did you do to get through that?
It had been almost 7 months since I had gotten sober. So during that time, I developed and found and built what was essential, I believe, for everybody. I found a community of people, like-minded people. I found some men that were on the same kind of level as I was, and I leaned on them. I was supported by them, and also the doctor that helped me on this journey. He was heavily involved with me. I was doing some volunteering and, helping him with some things. And he was a big means of support for me, Dr. Tim Kelly. So I leaned on those guys. I leaned on a community of guys. I leaned on a little bit of family I had available. And I leaned on, Tim Kelly.
So Dr. Kelly was with you from the beginning when this happened with Jazz?
Absolutely.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So what is something you wish more people understood about fentanyl and accidental overdoses?
First off, not even just fentanyl. You're looking at the disease of alcoholism or substance use disorder. It's not a moral issue. This is not a moral issue. Okay. The 3 key factors for someone to develop or have this disease, number 1 would be good old DNA. None of us can control that, right? You can't control your DNA. So that's 50% of addiction is DNA.
I'm glad you're telling me this, because I've always been the type that's like, is that a DNA? Can you inherit something like that?
Yeah.
So I can, yeah.
Yeah, you can. So number 1 is good old DNA. Number 2 would be early onset use. If an individual started using drugs 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then the third one is any coexisting mental health, issue, dealing with anxiety, stress, depression. If someone can check off 1 or all 3 of those, you might want to look into it. So first off, I'd like to tell people it's not a moral issue, and then the second thing is I've seen professors, I've seen CEOs of banks, I've seen famous people. This thing doesn't discriminate, and people are quick to turn their head, right? Until it happens to someone you love or you.
Right.
So I guess just to answer your question, spreading the message more and reducing the stigma of like, man, this is not a moral issue. And I'm not condoning behavior, okay?
Right.
We're not saying it's okay this guy robbed a bank or the liquor store because
it's in his DNA.
Drunk. No, it's not okay. It's because it's in his DNA. Rob the store.
Yeah.
No, we're not doing that. But to treat this, you do have to meet someone where they are, and you're not going to be able to help anybody if you're not educated on this and you don't believe it's a disease and have some compassion for it, and also that it's a treatable disease.
Last thing I'll mention about Jasmine, because obviously we could talk about her all day long. We miss her all the time, and her name will forever live on through me and you, and everyone around her. But what did her passing, like, did that become a catalyst for what you do now? Like, is that motivation, and does her passing light a fire for what you do now? And if people don't know, you help, in short, you help people get sober. So was her passing from a fentanyl overdose a catalyst to like started all that?
It absolutely was. It was bigger than that, because when Jasmine, was struggling and I did take her treatment, obviously she knew I was still taking prescription pills. So not only, did she set my career off, but she set the beginning off. You learn in recovery, no one can get you sober or make you get sober or do these things, but, we believe somebody could pray or motivate you into a place. And I believe she was the only person on the planet at the time that could have done that. So not only did she motivate me for that, it lit a fire. It lit a bigger fire. And I'll never forget Tim Kelly, the doctor, when this happened, he called me. We had several talks, but one of them, he said, Woody, I'm going to not call you for a little bit, to help anybody. I want you to just be okay. And I didn't know much at that time. I'm going to tell you what I know. Say, Doc, don't you quit calling at all. I need you to be calling me. I need to help people. So don't quit calling. And he said something to me after that. He said, Woody, I want to tell you something. He said, I promise you this won't happen in vain. I didn't know what he meant at the time. I appreciated the words. It didn't do much good, but I never forgot it. And he showed me what he meant later on. So she absolutely set that off, because that's what, shortly after that is when I started to pursue my education in addiction.
So, yeah, kind of what I was thinking about when we were going to do this pod is like your whole story is kind of about turning pain into purpose. So that's actually what I'm going to name the pod. So I want to bring up just a little photo here of what you do now. So
there's our logo.
Just give me a quick little, and Pete doesn't know anything about this really either. So give us a quick little intro about your company. You don't have to talk about how it started because you just did, but what is your company base? What is it?
Okay. I also have a full-time job I want to talk about. This company is something we started and developed about a year and a half ago. And what it is the gentleman, my partner, who I work for, Dr. Tim Kelly. He's a 43-year internal medicine and addictionologist, a specialist.
This is Doc Kelly right here.
Yeah,
right?
Doc Kelly. So he retired this year. He knew he was going to, He knew he was going to retire, and we were talking, and he said, Woody, I got some ideas and some things I want to do. So it was his idea to do this. And what we opened here is, in the state of Indiana, this is our first addiction concierge service. So we open up a business that we can provide services, obviously to a different population of people. We can more one-on-one care. So the company is Kelly Recovery Care. He is the doctor, and he can take care of any medication management, starting or adjusting medication-assisted treatment, one-on-one daily coaching and consulting with me. We also have his daughter, Erin Kelly. She's our nurse practitioner. She's board certified in addiction. And again, what this boils down to is when you go to the doctor, well, let me give you an example. Yesterday on Thanksgiving, I'm on a group text, of course, with Dr. Kelly, and he was going over one of our guys' labs because he's watching some of his levels due to one of the medications he's on. So on Thanksgiving, the doctor's texting him saying, I reviewed the levels, cut the naltrexone in half, call me at 8 o'clock tonight, tell me how you feel. You have a doctor that does that for you on Thanksgiving. So the concierge service, what it is more direct care, one-on-one. Yeah, you have his cell phone number, you have my cell phone number. Where you meet us at, no one will be there. When you go to the doctor, you sign in, right? You sit down and wait. When you come to our office, we're waiting on you. Hey, Pete, glad you're here. Get on in here. No one's there. So it's privacy. It's a high accountability program. And again, it's just more direct one-on-one care. We'll also come to your house. Let's imagine you're the client. You say, yeah, Woody, I need you and Doc Kelly. But I'm not leaving the house. I don't want to go nowhere. We'll come to your house. We can detox you at home. Providing it's the right circumstances.
Yeah.
So it's just more of direct personal care. It's a concierge service.
So with the concierge service, like, let me just ask for an example, so make it come full circle for people that will watch this. So let's say I'm a 40-year-old man and I got a 15, 16-year-old son who has been in and out of rehab. He just won't get clean. He's in and out of trouble. I hear about your program. Could I call you and say, look, man, this shit hasn't been working. I've heard about what you guys are doing. I want to hire you. Will you guys do that for my son?
Absolutely.
And what does that look like? I sign a month-to-month contract. What does that look like?
Our program is a year, but it's broke down into 4 payments. So first payment would be for the first 3 months, and there's $9,000. Second 3 months would be $6,000. Third would be $3,000. And then the last 3 months, we do that for free. So if you stick with us for a year, you'll get the last 3 months for free.
Nice.
We do have some guys that'll stay with us 6 months and then be done. We're okay with that too, because we still stay in touch with it. But yes, we can help women. We can help children. We had one case recently where right now the kid was still struggling, even with me going over there, Dr. Kelly going over there. So we were able to find, it's in Seattle. They flew him out to Seattle, and he's in a private, behavioral and addiction facility for about 45 days. Before he left, it was to his dad. Now he's been there about 30 days, got a couple of weeks left. He's writing his dad letters saying, come see me. He's flying out there to see him next week. We're developing a plan for when the kid comes home. So that's one real life example of how we were able to help. Yeah, because that's exactly what happened. A guy called us and said, hey, I need help with my kid. Absolutely.
Yeah, that's really powerful what you guys are doing, and Pete can edit on the pod, like the link to his website and stuff like that. So if people did want to hire you, just do a real quick plug. What would they do? Call you, call Doc Kelly, go on your website? How would they
we're online, Kelly Recovery Care. So we're online, Kelly Recovery Care. Someone could contact me. We have brochures. If you know anybody, give us a call. We're very accessible and available. But besides that, I'm involved with that with him, but I am fully employed and actually just took a new opportunity. I've been with another network for about 8 years in the hospital. And most of my work has been inpatient in an acute environment where you just have a lot of problems with people, medical, behavioral, mental. But actually, when I go home next week, a new company, Hickory Recovery Network, I've accepted a position with them to be a senior recovery consultant.
Oh, fire.
Yeah, do some business management.
That's what you got right here.
Yeah, throw that out there, please. Patty Boner, she's a vice president of business development and just a lady that has given me such an opportunity. And they really rolled out the red carpet for me. So yeah, I start that too. So I'm involved with Hickory Network full time with the concierge service. That's something we actually.
Is this what you're talking about right here?
That's us. That's us right there. Absolutely. So that is us.
Got you. Okay.
We have several facilities. We accept state insurance. Out there, it's called Healthy Indiana Plan or Anthem HIP. We have a private commercial location, which we're hoping to do something to add a concierge service there. Because something that hasn't happened in the state of Indiana is, let's say you're the concierge guy, right? Not only do you need a detox, but you want 30 days treatment. But you're not going to go to a state facility. We're hoping and in early discussions to where maybe we can get our private commercial facility in Greenfield, Indiana, to be able to accommodate that. And if we could accommodate that, we would be the first in the state of Indiana to be able to say, we can accommodate concierge addiction inpatient services.
Essentially pioneering what could be the future.
Yeah, it's exciting.
In this field,
it's exciting.
Oh, that's tight as fuck.
Yeah, our logo up there, Jocelyn, she did that.
Oh, you made that, Josh.
She's our IT girl.
No,
she's our logo girl. Aaron helps a lot too, or Aaron Kelly. Yeah, they help a lot too. But that's exciting and really glad to be a part of this. And it's going to take off. It's going to take off. This demand, over the next few years, I think 4 to 6% is going to jump up, which is a big deal when you talk about concierge services.
It's kind of like a double-edged sword in a sense. I only say that because it's like, it sucks that these programs have to be put in place because there's people that are struggling with addiction bad and things like that. But at the same time, it's like you're doing good for
Right.
others. It's helping you out. You're helping others out. You're getting fulfillment out of it, and you're getting fulfillment from others. So
Yeah.
it's like it's a good double-edged sword.
No,
I'd say.
yeah. No, you just brought up a good point though, because you said he's getting fulfilled from it. So do you feel like helping people kind of helps you heal too?
100%. Okay, I work in this now, so yes, helping people and getting paid, obviously, I'm working in this, yeah, it's conducive, but really where I like helping people is outside of work,
Yeah.
Yeah, I really do. I did some work with the youth department, the network I was with before, and I still have some of these kids that reach out to me. This life taught me what service is. True service is not, I'm not saying it could be a bad thing for someone, but you're walking down Skid Row and you're giving somebody McDonald's. Okay. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but for me, what I learned is true service is doing something for another, not telling anybody about it and expecting absolutely nothing in return.
Oh yeah, see, like recording yourself, giving somebody.
Yeah.
Like I said, I'm not saying it's
Yeah.
bad. If somebody wants to do that, I'm not saying it's bad, but that's just what I was taught about service is, you don't tell anybody about it and you don't expect anything about it.
I don't agree with that either. Like, if you're gonna do something out of the kindness of your heart, just do it without the notoriety.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I could see how it could be a positive too, because I feel like I'd rather you record yourself, giving somebody some McDonald's than you recording yourself fucking chugging a whole bottle of lean or something. Like, people need to see more positivity and stuff like that. So
yeah, and I agree. It can be good both ways.
that's where it sucks though, because it's like, bro, you're not doing it for that reason. But I'd rather you post this than you like slumped on the corner of the street for 5 hours.
But helping guys and being of service is absolutely true healing for me. Give you another example. I was helping a guy a couple years ago, and he told me some stuff, and he's having some problems at home, and he said, Woody, it's probably time for me to leave her, isn't it? Talking about his wife. Isn't it time for me to divorce my wife? I don't know that woman.
Yeah.
I've heard his side of the story.
Right.
They also have 3 kids over there I've never met.
Right.
I don't have any business saying anything, but hey, whatever you decide, I'll help you stay on your sobriety journey. I'll support you, and I got your back, whatever you decide.
Right.
I'm not going to get into that. So, yeah, true service is something that definitely is healing, from my heart, my life, my mission, what I do for my career, every way, shape, or form.
100%.
But we all have pain. See, I've learned that.
Yeah.
I'm not the only one that has been through a traumatic injury. I'm not the only one that's lost a child, and as bad as that is, I was helping a guy, and he passed away from an overdose, and I had never met his mother, but she asked me to come to the funeral, and I did not want to go. I don't enjoy going to funerals. I very rarely go. It does something to me, but I went because this dude's mother asked me to go, and I'll never forget when I met her. I only knew her son a couple of months. I met her at the funeral, and we're talking. And she said, you know what, Woody, the real sad thing is 15 months ago today, I buried his brother, my other son, for the same reason. I never forgot that. And I remember that night, I could go around. I'm not a grief specialist. I have pain. I have moments
for sure.
Things. But that moment taught me, I'm not the only one. Can I say I hurt worse than her? I'm not saying she hurts worse than me, but that was an eye-opener for me. That was an eye-opener that day. So that's something that helps me too. I'm not the only one that's dealt with something and again face adversity and put in some work and do something about it.
Yeah.
No, yeah, most definitely. And I won't go on a tangent here, but just, as your son, like, there's obviously been times post-jazz where, like, I felt like giving up too, whether it was with school or just life in general. But you make it real hard to do that when you're not doing that shit. You know what I mean? Like, how can I crumble under some pressure or some tragedies when you're not? You know what I mean? And it's not like you tell me. You do tell me things all the time, but I'm talking about your actions. Like, I'm much more motivated to do what I do every day, show up to work, the things that I do to stay all right because of the things that you do as well. It's very inspiring to me. Yeah, I don't want to take up too much of your time. I know that you're on vacation. We went through your company here. What would you have your final message be here, whether it's about your company or, fentanyl overdoses, like what would you want to leave the audience with who watches this pod?
Yeah, I want to leave the audience with something I think you and I have found, and it would be some healing on the journey. I can't heal you, you can't heal me, but I believe an individual can find, no matter what has happened to you, an individual can find some healing on the journey, and of course that can include support. We all need that. Besides losing a child, besides addiction, other people go through a lot of things too. They lose people to car crashes, murders, people get divorces.
He lost his pops too. Right?
Yeah.
So what I would want to leave anyone with is, to find some healing on the journey, because I've done that, you've done that. I watched this kid move out here with nothing. I moved him out here in 2018. Well, he moved himself, but I drove his car out here with him in 2018 and watched him take an entry-level job that was way below him in his education and move into a one-bedroom apartment over there in Hawthorne. And I've seen what's happened with him. So something I want to tell you before we get off here is, when I have those moments I have two. I can't do this. All right, this is too much right now. I know what you're doing. So you are one of the biggest parts of my journey and how I found healing. Watching my son succeed with everything he's been through is something I just cannot describe, okay? But I will tell you, I'm glad you said I motivate you, and I like you. You motivate me more than I could ever tell you.
It's a two-way street. You know what I'm saying? It's just like when you mentioned, like, how can I feel this way knowing that you're doing, but like while you're feeling like that, he's feeling the same way.
No, yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's a two-way street for sure.
It is.
Yeah.
It is. Just like I see you two sharpening each other, man.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
That's what I want to leave the audience with. But other than that, I would like just to take a moment and say that I've done nothing on my own. Nothing. Everything I've done, I've had help. I've had accountability. I've had people sharpen me, people assist me in everything I've done. So I've done nothing alone. And the only reason why I believe I have some success today is because I've learned a little, obviously not put in some work, but more so because of the others around me. And I wish some other things were better in my life. But before I go, I'd like to tell my mother, my father, my brother Roger, he's incarcerated. And,
Free Uncle Raj.
Free Uncle Raj, come on, baby. But yeah, Miranda, Matthew, a whole bunch of people. There's a lot of people I love and that love me. And I'm glad that I can say today that I'm grateful. Because there was a time where I would have told you that words would never come out of my mouth.
Yeah, for sure.
I was wrong. So I'm glad for that. I'm really glad to be here.
Yeah.
I'm just excited, I didn't know we were going to do this at first. I knew I was coming to LA for the big fight. We got a big fight going up Sunday.
Yeah.
We got a busy weekend. We've got weigh-ins tomorrow. Got the fight Sunday. Later game Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm glad to be out here. And son, we're living. And I know Jasmine. You asked me if she was a catalyst in my career earlier. I know the good decisions we make, you and I, where we are in life today, where we live, or what we do, they come from her. And they still do. So she still affects us. And when I can see things in life, like a decision I've made or a decision my son has made, and how that's kind of panned out later, we know who's behind it. We know why. And we didn't sign up for this. And trust me, we don't want this. But it's amazing when you can do what you can do when you have no choice.
Yeah.
And I guess we do have a choice here, good or bad, right?
Right.
But we already know there's no choice.
Yeah.
We are going to turn this pain into purpose, one day at a time, together with a lot of help, support,
100%.
Absolutely.
The one thing I will take from this is like pretty much pain or suffering is subjective, but being able to empathize and like accept with open arms, I think is what will get you past, like you said, finding healing and stuff like that, because like I'm not going to find healing in you, but you can help guide me to find that, you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, I have to be willing to take that guidance, and I have to be able to empathize with you, or you have to be willing to empathize with my situation in order to help guide me as well. So like that's like the take that I got.
Yeah, 100%. And something else just to throw into that is I realized this isn't over.
Yeah.
All right, you can't tell someone to forget what they've been through.
Right.
You can't bring a lost loved one back. So when I talk about that healing on the journey, I don't just mean looking for it for today or this week or next month. I'm constantly looking for healing on the journey. That's something else I'd like to leave with people. Like I said earlier, seek some healing on the journey.
Mm-hmm.
I can't tell you what's going to help you and get you some healing, but we can support each other. And as long as you're willing to look for it, you can.
Yeah.
And support, we need it throughout. Like you've lost, you're going to need that.
Mm-hmm.
So healing on the journey. We do turn pain into purpose, and we can't heal on this journey. We can't.
Yeah.
And then when I say like it's subjective, I don't mean like there's levels to it, because like your hurt is your hurt, my hurt is my hurt, your pain is your pain, whatever the case is. But just to reiterate, it's about how you empathize with someone. Like I may have lost 10 people close to me within this past week, and you might have just got fired. I'm not going to sit here and say, well, my loss is more than what you're dealing with right now. So it's kind of like that aspect.
I love that because that's real. You tell someone what's not a big deal.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe that is a big deal.
Exactly.
So I love hearing you say that, man.
Oh yeah, that's true.
I'm sharp as iron, man. You guys are awesome.
I mean, we went through a lot. I was just gonna say I really appreciate you coming here. You flew all the way across the country to come do this pod and come see me fight. So it means a lot to me. Got to get you and P on a deeper level. You know.
Yeah, no, it was a good podcast.
Yeah, so now we're locked in forever.
Yeah, for sure.
Other than that, dude, appreciate you, man. Love you, bro.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What?
Yep.
What's that?
Appreciate
Love
it.
it.